No, that's okay. You just have to connect them together. So, both cables are connected to a oscilloscope with a load on it. So there's a 50 ohm load on each of the lines here, the black and the red. And then the red one gets my source. And then it will be according to the book. Still working, yeah. Okay. The idea here is to send a signal on the red wire to the oscilloscope on the top, and then look what happens on the passive wire, which is on one side on the scope, on the other side it has a load on the end. And it has a common return path. So there's a little wire here making the return. Okay, we go look. Let's take them apart. Okay, and the yellow one is the black wire. Just increase the sensitivity a little bit. So you can see there's noise. And the noise is not during the stable parts, where it's, let's say, DC, but only when there's a change. So there's a change here, and then you see a spike. Stable, nothing. Another change, another spike. You see it's in opposite directions. I told you this Faraday law has a minus sign somewhere. Well, usually it's opposing. So it gets an effect in the opposite direction of the influence from outside. So this is the noisy channel, the red wire. This is the black one. And now, of course, if you have this, you don't want it. You need to do something to reduce this problem. You want to reduce this noise. Okay, what can you do? Well, you can go slow. You've seen that before. Make it slow, it goes away. But okay, we want to do fast. We want to do high-speed stuff. So it is fast, given. Now what else can you do? Okay, we have two loops. The red with the gray, and the black with the gray. Make the red loop small. Well, helps, right? Make the black loop small. Also helps. The best would be to make both small, because if you have the black loop small, your noise is less, but the red one is still making a lot of noise for all of you. So you need both. And that's a little difficult. So you can put them together, but then yeah, then they're really together and close together, and they might be close to the gray one, which is the idea, but it might also be close to each other, and that doesn't work as good. So what can you do? Well, the big trick, get the water out, is white metal. This is white metal with the cables on it, and of course it should work like a medical. It needs to make contact, yes, but if you do, see what happens now is that the current will flow in this metal. The return current from the red one will go in the metal here, very close to the wire. They call that the proximity effect. So the natural tendency, and it's also the minus sign in the Faraday law, that the current will try to find the path it can follow with the least amount of field. So you don't have to invest energy. If it can find a path without energy, it will go there. So as a designer, you should build this path. So if you have a circuit which is fast, make sure that the return path is very close. The intended return path is very close to the wire that's bringing you the signal. If you do that, it will flow there automatically. You don't have to do anything. The black one, okay, it's also small because it's against the metal here. So a small loop here. So here's a small loop, and here's a small loop. The gray wire could go now because this metal will take the current. I see it's a very effective way of reducing the current. You can measure this field distribution in the metal. You need a little probe, small probe. Try to show it for you. Okay, then the camera somewhere. And the end of this wire. No? This wire. Okay. Here. Here's my camera. Okay. Good. No. Here it is. It's a C-core, they call it. It's a piece of ferrite, and it has about 5 turns of wire. So it's a very small thing, but you can use it to measure fields. Okay. So instead of the black wire here, I'll now connect the probe here. See whether it gets enough. Oh, crank it up a little bit. Oh, that was transmitter. Sorry. Okay. A little more. One more, let's say 20 minutes. So, I have my red wire here. If I put my probe on this red wire, you can see the current. If you go next to it, you see the opposite. It's the return current in the metal. Also on this side, see? This is the original current. But then if I go further away, it becomes very small. See? But if I lift this wire, so I take it up higher, if I lift it from the metal, you see that the area where you find return current will be much bigger. So the distribution is in the metal, under the wire, if it's very close. If it goes higher, it gets bigger. So you get a bigger area. Now if you put a black wire in an area with field, you may expect crosstalk. So if you want no crosstalk, put them down as much as you can. Flat against the metal. Okay, let's go back to my story. Not this story. This story. So, change the crosstalk, we started with that. You see these spikes. Yeah, they call it common impedance crosstalk because there's a common wire doing the return here. It's just a name. Slow rise time helps. Always. And then you go put a metal plate in. And then here, so this proximity effect is try to draw it there. The measurement comes next to the digit because those are aligned here. Okay, skin effect is another thing you can use to separate circuits. If you have a current source on one side of a metal plate with thickness D here, put a current in. The current will flow in the wire, of course, and then in the plate, first on the top layer of the plate, and then it will create magnetic fields, of course. One magnetic field will go out into the environment here, and the other part of the magnetic field will go inside this metal plate. And because it's an alternating current, we assume this is a fast moving signal, alternating current, it will create induction in the plate, in the metal, and they call it eddy currents, wervelstromen in Nederland. Eddy currents, and the eddy currents have a direction opposite to this one. That's again the minus sign in the Faraday law. So this current is going this way, then the eddy current will go in that way. And they effectively push the current towards the source.